I'm going to go and rescue a PS2 game that's been in my local CEX for a while. It's a decently rare one. You've probably seen it a million times if you watch a lot of these videos, because I always contemplate it and I go, maybe not, because I've got a HD version of it. But I, I'm tired of seeing it in this CEX, and I'd rather it be in my collection than sitting in that local CEX until somebody steals it. So, in a minute, I'm going to get my socks on and we're going to go and get it, along with potentially another mascot franchise that's there that I've seen apparently is. There's like four of them listed as being in stock, and depending on one whether or not they're a platinum or not, because PS2, will depend upon whether I get them. I'm also going to check my PO box because it's been a week or so since I've been there. And then we're also going to Aldi, Tesco, and Pepe's because it's a Friday, so stay tuned. We did go to a Chinese buffet back on Tuesday with Neve and her work social events, but honestly, it was the worst night ever. Just it was so frustrating. If you could have been there, you'd have. I was tempted to film, but I chose not to because nothing went right between the staff that just were, between the people that were just, and between the food that was just. I didn't bother. For example, at one point, one of the other people like asked one of the staff who was taking the drink orders, "What's in a cocktail?" And she just went, "I don't know. I don't work behind the bar." Okay. Right, so I've had to move the cars around because I'm taking my car. Because the problem is today is a shopping day, but not for a few more hours yet, and that means that we can't return to the same car park in the same day without getting a fine. So I'm having to. We got a single file driveway, so I've had to pull Neve's car off so that I can take my car to town, so that we can take her car to town later without getting a fine. Annoying. But also, I've just seen the best thing ever that I wished I could have recorded. There was a staffy, and it was hurdling this bench, and it was flying. It was brilliant. I miss my staffy. That improved my day. I wish I could have filmed that. They're still playing now. I can see them in the mirror of my car. That's cool. Right, anyway, off into town we go. Isn't it a lovely sunny day? You know, I can't wait for t-shirt weather to come back. Although the problem with t-shirt weather is that it means that it also gets light at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm sleeping at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning at the minute, and that means that it would be fully daytime. There's no time of year that we can win. Also, does anyone else think that there's no faster way to make a car look old than to make it silver? Sometimes I see a car that I'm like, oh, that's a weird looking car. And then you're like, oh, it's brand new. You see it's 24 plate or whatever. But then it's like silver. Silver just makes cars look old. I don't know. Anyone else think? Either way, let's head out. See you in CX. The balls on the woman in that PO box shop is insane. I think she's just lost me as a customer. I don't know. I'll explain later, but Jesus Christ. So remember, she scammed me out of a month in the first place because I paid for 3 months and then she closed for an entire month over Christmas. She closed in the middle of December until the middle of January. And then when I last went in, I paid for another month when it was some bloke, it wasn't her. Turns out that was her husband. And then today she's like, no, you owe more money. You owe me £4 more because he didn't charge you VAT. I'm like, pardon? Like, so you made a mistake and now you've got the balls to bring it up over £4 when I already paid you £24 for a month that you just scammed me out of. No, I think I'll go somewhere else next time. That's how being pedantic can lose your business. Anyway, into CX we go. Well, Stafford appears to have had a decently big influx recently of handheld stuff. Coraline on DS, 95 quid, and the Wii, 58 quid. I do believe that the PS2 version is also pretty expensive, and I do wonder what that game's like. I'm curious. Check this out. Backwards compatible PS3, 235, next to the PS3 version of the hardened edition of Modern Warfare 3. I like the idea of a backwards compatible PS3, and I did have one, but I don't trust them. I'd much rather just have the PS2. It didn't look any better, if at all better, than the PS2, especially when I use my upscaler on the PS2 as well. But even without, it didn't. It was just almost like running a native PS2 just through HDMI. You know, it was convenience rather than anything else. But the thing would sound like a jet engine, and is a ticking time bomb. I'd be curious about maybe modding one day and getting it Frankensteined with the slim CPU so that it never dies, or at least is less likely to die. But realistically, I don't need to because I have my PS2 and good old PCSX2 if needed, or more commonly, in fact, Dolphin, because GameCube versions are usually superior.
But yeah, taking a look at the PS2 stuff, because there does appear to have been a decent chunk of new PS2 stuff. There's all the Ratchet and Clank games listed, all the GTA games too, and a few random Japanese games like that Oni just there, and then down in the bottom right, I don't know if I show it. There's the samurai game. There was a samurai game I remember playing a lot as a kid. I don't remember what it was called. I need to find that one. It was like a one-on-one fighter where they sparred with wooden swords, and the only real blood was a blood spurt from the neck. I don't know what it was. I need to find that game. Who knows?
That was a decently successful haul. I didn't get the main thing I was going to go for because I looked at the condition of it and it was a bit not great. So for those, it was Sly Cooper. There's a £35 Sly Cooper game, the first one for PS2 that's been in there for ages. And we're going to get that. But the spine, the actual art itself is ripped at the top and at the bottom. And I'm like, for 35 quid, PS2 game, the spine can't be ripped. So I'm going to leave that. So I did get some other stuff. I still spent like 24 quid, something like that. Pretty successful. Although I did have to like pause them because they were... The problem with PS2 stuff is often platinum discs are a thing. And I watched them. They were about to put a platinum disc in a non-platinum case, which is bad all round. Bad for me because I don't want it, and bad for them because if they were to sell me that disc with the wrong case, the other one that was on the shop floor, someone may no longer have bought full stock because it doesn't have the correct disc as well. It's potentially losing it on like twice the sales. But still in shock that the PO Box woman had the balls to do that. So to recap, I paid in October-ish time for 3 months of PO Box. It's £24 a month, something like that. And I paid a 3-month block. But then in the middle of December, she shut for just over a month. Her Christmas break was something like December 14th to January 18th. So more than a third of what I'd paid for was unusable. I did not have access to the service at which I'd paid for, and yet I did not get like a pro rata refund or anything like that. And then when it came time to go again once she reopened to see if anything had arrived after reopening but before me checking again, we were discussing whether or not we think she was going to charge me for, because it was time for me to pay again technically, and it was going to be awkward because like you're going to ask me to pay for another month or to re-up my subscription or whatever after the fact that you've just taken over a month out of me and not been open. So she wasn't in there, and it was another bloke who turns out was her husband, and I paid him for a single month. I paid 20 quid because that's all he charged me. I was like, okay, whatever, I'm not going to complain about that. And then she goes in just then, she's like, you owe me more money. I'm like, pardon? She's like, yeah, he didn't charge you enough. What did he charge you? And I was like, oh, like 20. And she was like, no, it's 24, you owe me £4 more. And I'm there like, I mean, okay, but this is how you lose business. Goodwill. When you are a small business, there's a reason I'm PO Box number 1. There's no one else paying for PO Boxes in this place. Come on now. So the first place she could have lost me was me paying for a month and her basically scamming me out of it. And then now I think she might have actually lost me because of her being so petty about the 4 quid. I was just like, okay, whatever. I paid it. But like, will I re-up next month? I don't think I will. I think I'll probably just go and pay the Royal Mail cost. Royal Mail costs more for a PO Box. It's why I'm not with them in the first place. But I guarantee Royal Mail service is likely better in that it's always there. And here's another thing is, the PO Box is like a little pigeonhole. Like if you remember being in school, the little teacher's pigeonholes. It's a little slip. Anything more than a single game wrapped doesn't fit. I think only twice has anything that somebody's ever sent me fit in the pigeonhole, and anytime it doesn't fit in there, they keep it behind the desk, and she charges me another £1 per item. That's another thing. She actually charged me an extra £1 today because last time I picked something up that he forgot to charge me for or something like that. She's like, did the thing fit in the box last time? I was like, no. She was like, oh, well, you need to pay me another £1 then. I was like, okay. Jesus. It's like, okay, so now for the sake of 4 or 5 quid, you've now lost however many months worth of payments I would have continued to give you had you treated better to your customers. Jesus Christ. Anyway, let's go home. Okay, let me show you what I got from CEX today. Oh, actually, I do have a bit of fan mail to open. I was like, why does this feel so heavy when I only got a few things? But this, because fan mail. So, yeah. So, first of all, I got Ratchet and Clank 1. Now, typically, this is a franchise that appears way too commonly in Platinum variations, and I always hold off on getting them because I have the trilogy for PS3, but for the sake of videos and having them is nice to have them. So I got Ratchet and Clank 1, Ratchet and Clank 2, and Ratchet and Clank Gladiator. They also did have Ratchet and Clank 3, I eventually found it. Sadly, that was a Platinum disc. And Ratchet and Clank 1, I was nearly given the Platinum disc for as well, because they had that on Platinum as well as regular. But I managed to solve that problem. So that was today's little haul. Now, let's take a look at what we got from somebody. Let's have a look. It's very well sellotaped up, so I have a suspicion. But I see a way in. So we're going to peel away. It's white. It's a Wii game. You motherfucker. Who sent me this? Tell me there is a letter in here that says who sent this. Bro, whoever sent me this, you have spent more. I should not touch that to my forehead. I'll get gangrene. Whoever sent me this, you have spent more on the delivery than the game costs. I'm being trolled now. You know what? That disc looks like it's seen some use. Which is kind of rare for Wii games, I feel, outside of like your Marios and your rock, Guitar Heroes and stuff. At this point, I should have guessed. But yeah, let's go get some shopping and some food. Time for us to get some food. It's absolutely rammed in here and we didn't park. We had to park somewhere else. Christ. At least you know the food's warm. Hello. Hello, Ruby. Are you not going to examine what's in the bags to make sure that we've got adequate shopping? You usually have to do that, otherwise we're not allowed to. You going to have a look what's in there? Is it okay? Is it up to standard? Is it? Is it up to standard? Come round. Why are you licking me hand? You'd lick your way through the submarine window, Ruby. You'd find a way. This is yet another example of the dog eating better than we do. We've got takeaway. She's got, what's this, lamb?
It's beef.
Beef. Oh, it was lamb last week. Eyes? Good girl. For anyone wondering what the go-to Pepe's meal is, it's a chicken XL burger, lemon and herb with peri fries. This is lower calorie than the majority of the meals that we'd actually eat at home. I've lost weight the last 3 days in a row, eating 3,000 calories. I need more food than ever. I'm only going to be on 1,700 after this. We're slacking today. Well, that last clip was filmed at like 7:30. It is now 2:30 a.m. So it's been some hours. Went to the gym, ate the food, ate more food, ate a bit more food after that. And now we're here. And do you know what I forgot to mention? Because I'm still bitter, because I'm just sort of a bitter person in general, apparently. Do you know what else? the woman in the PO box, she was like, she was like, I text you about you owing £4 more. I was like, well, I gave you my partner's number because I don't look at texts ever, because I get a lot of spam. Just, no. She deals with that. And Neve was like, no text. And the woman went to look on her phone, no text there. She's like, oh, sure, I text. And she like rang her husband there and then in front of me about this £4. I'm like, I'm not sure. I was like, bro, I will pay. At no point did I object to paying the £4, by the way. This is an after the fact annoyance that I've got. Because it's easier, isn't it? I'm not going to sit there and argue with her about £4 when I'll just pay the £4, have the remaining month of PO Box, and then just call it squits there and find a different one. I just don't get it. Like, when you are a small business, it is important that when you have recurring customers, don't annoy them. Tesco can afford to lose people. Tesco don't care. But when you've never had like more than a couple of people in your shop at any given time, don't lose them over £4. Don't scam them out of a month. Don't make them pay a quid every time something doesn't fit in the pigeonhole. Like, there is not a drawer in my house smaller than that pigeonhole that I technically pay £24 a month for, apparently. But yeah, I'm bitter about that. That's annoying. But yeah. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video of me rescuing some Ratchet and Clanks. I went in for Sly Cooper and I came out with Ratchet and Clank. Whoops. 4 games I technically already owned. Or well, 3 because I didn't buy the third. Because I've got Ratchet and Clank 1, 2 and 3 through the HD trilogy that's on PS3, and I got Ratchet Gladiator through the PS3 HD remaster that released digitally. Which, by the way, I don't know if you've ever tried to buy anything through a PlayStation 3 these days. Not very easy. They don't let you purchase directly through. You have to buy it through wallet funds. So you've got to go log into your Sony account on like a PC or your PS4 or PS5, add the funds there first, then go back to the PS3 and pay through that way. It's all funny. But I don't know if you've ever looked, but the PlayStation 3 store is a completely different store than the 4 and the 5, and there's a vast variety of different stuff. So yeah.